It takes a brave developer to entirely change the formula of a long-running, highly successful series. If it ain't broke, don't fix it rings true for many franchises. To change the fundamentals of a series risks upsetting a fanbase that may have been around for, at times, decades. For Sony Santa Monica to change the very fabric of God of War is a phenomenal gamble, but one that, for the most part, pays off. God of War is superb, offering a stunningly detailed and lush world built with a level of detail that makes it wondrous to explore. It also has room to breathe, allowing Kratos and Atreus' roller coaster relationship to build into something that can almost rival The Last of Us Ellie and Joel. While a lot has changed for God of War, it still holds one of the most satisfying and entertaining combat systems in gaming. Kratos is a man conflicted. Having fled Sparta among all the death and destruction caused by his hands but not his heart, Kratos seeks a quieter life. The story begins at the funeral of Kratos' wife, and we follow him and his son, Atreus, as they seek to lay her ashes at the largest peak in all the realms. The story certainly takes its time to unfold. God of War is far slower paced than its predecessors, which may not sit well with some fans. Give it the time it demands, however, and the payoff is definitely worth it. Moving from Greek to Norse mythology, God of War makes superb use of the source material, bringing in some wonderful characters and creatures that are as entertaining as they are beautiful to look at. One thing to mention for pro players is that God of War comes with two graphics modes, performance and resolution. The former will render the game at 1080p with an almost rock-solid 60 FPS, while the latter delivers 4K via 2160p checkerboard and a variable frame rate targeting 30 FPS. The difference between the two is stark. I spent most of my time appreciating the beautiful visuals in 4K, switching to performance mode only for the trickier combat encounters. There's certainly compromise in both, but the game does a good job of allowing you to easily switch between the two should you want to. On the combat front, God of War has one of the best in the business. It's certainly complex, and asks an awful lot of the player in terms of the amount of buttons you have to push, things you have to consider at any one time, and level of challenge from the enemy, but it's incredibly rewarding once you get to grips with it. The new over-the-shoulder perspective means that everything becomes more visceral. We're now much closer to the action than we've ever been before, so now Kratos has a threat meter around him, warning of any impending strikes the player can't see. Works really well, except when the camera gets a little too close, and makes it almost impossible to see all the threats at once, particularly those directly behind you. You then also have light and heavy attacks, as well as a shield. Timing blocks give you the opportunity to counter, but absorbing too many blows on the shield leaves you wide open to a follow-up attack. Atreus is also on the battlefield, assisting you with arrow strikes at the push of a button, delaying an enemy's killing blow to save your skin, or simply creating cool combos to finish off the crowd. There's now much more depth to the game, too, thanks to the upgrade tree and ability to unlock new armor. This isn't a simple case of new equipment equals better, either. You have to study what each new piece of kit brings to the table and assess if it benefits how you play. There are numerous stats to consider: defense, strength, runic, vitality, cooldown and luck. Your 3 pieces of armor, chest, bracers and waist, will only improve 2 or 3, so choosing the right one is important. It's a neat touch, and it again adds a layer to the series that didn't exist before. As superb as the combat is, sadly, there's one area that's unbelievably poor, especially for a God of War game. Boss fights simply don't have the frequency nor impact that the series is known for. In addition, the main boss encounters are too short-lived to be memorable, while the B-tier big boys are so repetitive they become somewhat monotonous. There are 2 or 3 types of B-tier boss fights, all involving the same form of enemy, all requiring the same strategy to beat, and it's so disappointing. God of War has always been known for its larger-than-life bosses, but here they're simply a sideshow. Another sour note is that, since this is the start of a new trilogy, the conclusion doesn't quite have the bombastic climax towards which it is building. It's all a bit serene, which is a shame, but there are plenty of nods to a sequel, more than enough to keep me invested. The side missions I took part in also felt worthwhile, unlocking runes that can improve armor, a useful special attack for the Leviathan Axe, or even just a healthy amount of XP and currency. The missions themselves were varied and enjoyable. Plus, simply exploring the Lake of Nine, the main hub area of the game, was greatly rewarding.